kill you quickly. You will not live to see the dawn.
Alright guys, let's talk Resident Evil. So, I only just beat the first game, and now I need to download and play the second game. Now, I thought the first game was okay. It was frustrating, though it was constant puzzles, limited save files, and frustrating gun mechanics. It was also a surprise because I was led to believe, based on what people told me, that the franchise was more action horror, and that's definitely not what I got out of the first game. And maybe the next ones will be different. But we're not here to talk about my gaming experience with Resident Evil. I just felt the need to share that because when I first started talking about Resident Evil and Dead by Daylight, I admitted I'd never played any of the games, and people got on me about that, saying you really need to play the games, so I am working on it, and bear with me. But we're here to talk about the next chapter of Resident Evil and Dead by Daylight, Project W, W standing for Wesker. We'll get to him next time, but for now, let's talk about the two new survivors that came out in this chapter, Ada Wong and Rebecca Chambers. Now, this may come as a surprise, but attractiveness can have two meanings, and both have very different looks and aesthetics. On the one side, you have cute, and on the other side, you have hot. Both are appealing, but both present differently. Cute is innocence, naivety, optimism, openness, childlike, and something you might want to snuggle and cuddle all day. You know, that kind of thing. Hot, meanwhile, is mysterious, smooth, sensual, stoic, sexy, and someone you're almost scared to touch but feel so drawn to you can't help but look at them. This chapter of Dead by Daylight presents us with the extreme of both examples of attraction, and we'll start with Rebecca Chambers, who is most definitely the cute extreme. Rebecca Chambers was a prodigy. She graduated university at the age of 18 with a bachelor's in chemistry. She was scouted out early on by various organizations and groups interested in her talents, but at the end of the day, it would be the Special Tactics and Rescue Service, or STORS, of Raccoon City that would get Rebecca to join up because of her unmatched medical knowledge and expertise. She, along with her Bravo team, were dispatched to the Arklay Research Facility where they were to investigate several brutal and cannibalistic murders. While searching a train, she discovered horrific animal abominations. Forced to flee, she entered an abandoned Umbrella underground facility. Desperate to find her team, Rebecca followed what she thought were their voices, or disembodied voices rather, only to become lost in a dense black fog. As she wandered aimlessly through the fog, she came out the other side into a realm she did not recognize. Yeah, that's it. You heard right, that's it. That's all that DBD gave us about her lore. And unfortunately, that's all I can really go into because that's all DBD covers, and I don't want to provide spoilers about the games here. Okay, to start off, let me just say this. I'm aware that behavior is limited in what they can realistically do here. After all, Rebecca is part of Resident Evil, and that is a copyrighted franchise, but I do wish that they could have gone a bit further into Rebecca, but I digress. Let's move on. I think the thing that stands out about Rebecca in DBD at the very least is her optimistic personality. Imagine you were like me and had no experience with Resident Evil and you were just looking at the cast for the first time. You were looking at Jill, Leon, Ada, Rebecca. The first thing I'd think, or the first thing I did think, is that of the cast, Rebecca is the only one holding on to hope. She's the only one who gives you the thumbs up and reminds you everything's going to be okay. She's the one you want looking over you after your foot gets caught in a trapper trap. And she's the one you want cleaning you up after the plague vomits on you. And she gives this kind of chipper demeanor about her. She's kind of got this, identity about her that's just cute. She is cute, and that's what you like about her. And even that cowgirl outfit that she gets in the Wesker bundle, it's just cute. And that cuteness is practically a perk in and of itself. And speaking of perks, Rebecca runs Better Than New, Hyper Focus, and Reassurance. Let's talk about them. Better Than New is a fantastic perk for healing builds. Better Than New grants bonuses to survivors that you heal. When you fully heal a survivor, they gain a 16% speed boost to blessing, cleansing, healing, and unlocking actions. And these boons remain active until the survivor is damaged again. This perk is a great way to invigorate and support your team passively. Hyperfocus is a perk that Okay, let me see if I can explain this. I like the perk, but I feel it can be quite risky if you're not good at skill checks and if you're not running the right build. Okay, each time you get a great skill check, this perk gains a token for a maximum of 6. For each token you gain, not only are skill checks more likely, but you gain a 4% increase in speed to the skill check rotation for a maximum of 24%. This means that the skill checks will come more frequently and they will be harder to hit. But there is a plus. Landing any great skill check increases the progression bonus by 30% per token for a maximum of 180%. That means that, if you can land bunches of great skill checks one after another, you could potentially blow through a generator. The downside is that if you miss a single great skill check, even just getting a good skill check, you lose all your tokens. And like I said, this perk could be a fantastic boon to you and your team in gen completion, but it can also quite literally blow up in your face. Now, I don't normally do this. This isn't something I'd normally do in these videos, and I'm certainly no pro player or perk guru or anything, but I did some experimenting, and I think I found a build where you can actually get some mileage out of this perk. I recommend running Hyperfocus alongside Fast Track, This Is Not Happening, and Stakeout. Now, if you watched my videos previously, you know what 2 of these perks do. Stakeout gains tokens for time spent in the killer's tear radius, and those tokens can be spent to turn good skill checks into great skill checks, thus artificially helping you build up Hyperfocus. Fast Track, meanwhile, adds bonus points to every great skill check, thus amplifying and improving your overall increase in gen progression. Now, This Is Not Happening is just a helpful perk that can support this build, as it increases the size of the great skill check window when you're injured. So after working with this build on Yoon Jin Lee, I actually was able to get 4 tokens on this perk before I failed. So that's actually pretty good in my opinion, so definitely try that out and see what you think. And then there's Reassurance. This is another very helpful altruism perk. If you're within 6 meters of a hook survivor, press the action button to activate this perk. When activated, the sacrifice progression meter freezes for 30 seconds, and if the survivor is on the struggle phase, it will cancel all skill checks for that hook survivor. This perk is useful if your buddy is near death on the hook and the killer is still in the area. This way you can buy time for just a few more seconds to save them. But Rebecca Chambers is the cute extreme, and therefore Ada Wong is the hot. And by God, is she hot. I mean, okay. Full disclosure, cards on the table. I confess I find Asian women appealing. Call it that Asian persuasion, if you like. But I was already folding like origami when I saw Ada. Although, can I even call her Ada? I mean, that may not even be her real name. It's one of the things about Ada that you gotta love and kinda hate. We don't know much about her. I mean, of course, a woman with a little mystery to her is nice, but at the same time, her real name, her age, her country of origin are all unknown. I mean, she once told a tale about how she was born in the aftermath of the Vietnam War and was smuggled into the United States with a human trafficking ring, but she later stated that this was a fabricated story to test Leon's gullibility. So, who even knows who she is? Now, if I were to put my personal guess on the matter, I'd put her at about 35 years of age at the absolute oldest, and I'd also speculate her origins being Chinese, but that's just me. Now, no one knows who she works for. She's been hired by various organizations, crime syndicates, and companies over the years, and she's infamously double-crossed many of them. She was once even employed by Albert Wesker himself for a time before double-crossing him too. See, no one exactly knows what she's after, except herself. But what Dead by Daylight tells us is that she was captured by a cult of some kind to be used in a sacrifice until the fog claimed her. What, you wanted more? That's it. Once again, Dead by Daylight gives us next to nothing. It doesn't even expose what game they're taking her from. At least with Rebecca, they likely snatched her up from Resident Evil 1, but with Ada, all they tell us is that she was investigating Los Illuminados, but that isn't super specific, I would think. But then again, I haven't played any of the Resident Evil games past 1, so hey, if anyone's a more professional person in the lore, if you know more about the lore than I do, please let me know where you think they pulled Ada from, but I digress. As for her personality, okay, you know what? People get sick of me doing this, but I'm going to do it. Ada Wong reminds me a great deal of Nico Robin from One Piece. Hear me out. Not just in terms of appearance, but also in personality and behavior. Robin is a fugitive from the world government with knowledge that could overturn the world order as we know it. She has joined and supported various organizations, all with the intention of furthering her own goals, but in the end was not afraid to betray and backstab everyone she worked for, including the likes of Crocodile, one of the 7 warlords of the sea.
I'm not interested whether people in this country live or die. It really makes no difference to me. I had already decided from the start not to give Crocodile the weapon.
According to Admiral Aokiji, every organization Robin was ever a part of was totally destroyed thanks to her doing, while she always slipped away.
If you need proof, consider this. Every organization that she's had something to do with in the past has been annihilated. Not one single solitary member escaped except for her. Why is that, Nico Robin?
Using her cleverness, her feminine wiles, her charisma, her amazing powers given to her by a devil fruit, and, yes, not to mention her sex appeal, Robin was always able to undermine, hide, and overthrow countless enemies and foes. By her own admission, she is gifted at maneuvering through any obstacles to achieve her goals, and her specialty is killing.
I'm good at maneuvering through obstacles to achieve a goal. I'd be a great asset to you and your friends.
Huh. You're full of confidence. What's your specialty?
Killing.
Sound familiar? See, I'd say Ada and Robin are incredibly similar, but the biggest difference between the two is that Robin, at one point, opens up. She revealed where she was from, what she was really after, and finally decided to stop betraying her comrades to succeed. She found the power of friendship. Ada, well, until she gets what she wants, and Lord knows what that may be, she'll never stop, and that means even loving her is its own brand of danger. But, hey, risk is one of the perks when it comes to love. And speaking of perks, you like that? You like that little tie-in I'm doing? I'm enjoying this. Ada comes with low profile, reactive healing, and wiretap. Low profile. This perk only activates when you're the last survivor, so it's situational. For 90 seconds while this perk is active, you leave no scratch marks and no pools of blood. You also don't make any grunts of pain if you're injured. This perk deactivates once you're downed and does not activate again. This perk can be a good fail-safe for you if you're the last one standing and need to quickly get away without the killer finding you, but otherwise I haven't found a lot of good use for this perk. If you're actually having to rely on this perk, odds are pretty good, your fate's sealed, but you know what? It's worked out sometimes. Then there's reactive healing. This perk is actually really good for solo queues. When a survivor within 32 meters of you loses a health state, if you are injured, you will immediately regain up to 50% of your missing health. That means you could automatically get half of your healing progress filled passively just from being near a teammate who got injured. This is a real help if you're by yourself and having trouble finding means to heal yourself quickly. And finally, Wiretap, probably the only perk that all other survivors benefit from that Ada carries. When you perform the equivalent of 40% progression on generators, you can plant a wiretap device into a generator. The wiretap generator will glow yellow to all survivors and last for 2 minutes. If a killer comes within 14 meters of the wiretap generator, his aura will be revealed to all survivors. The wiretap is then destroyed if the generator is damaged or if it's completed. Now, I'll be real honest, I have my issues with wiretap. For one thing, I think 40% progression is a little much to add wiretap, especially since it can be easily destroyed and it only shows the killer when they're within 14 meters of the wiretap generator. I would increase that range. If you're going to do it like that, I would increase it to like 20 or maybe 25 meters away from the generator to make it a little bit more useful. Just 14 meters, I feel like that's just not going to be as good. But regardless. Now, if you guys didn't notice, Rebecca and Ada both seem to be total opposites in terms of their behavior, personalities, and perks. Rebecca is altruistic. She's a medic who cares about the welfare of others. She's optimistic and hopeful and open with those around her with a childlike naivety to her. Her perks reflect this too by giving boons to others on the team and supporting others above herself. Ada, meanwhile, is distant and self-interested. Her perks are best for keeping herself alive and active and benefiting her and her alone. Her behavior is mysterious and distant, with an allure that makes you want her, but also recognize the intrinsic danger within. But with Leon, you never know. That could work out in his favor. I gotta say, though, while I wish the DBD team did more to give us lore on them, I did enjoy exploring these two. But you know what? Rebecca and Ada came out with a killer. A killer that everyone is excited for me to talk about. So, tune in next time so we can talk about the mastermind himself, Albert Wesker. Until then, I'll see you next time in the fog. Take care.
I'll kill you quickly. You will not live to see the dawn.